and welcome to Science Fiction, Race, and Racism. This is a video blog and channel about the most famous and influential works in science fiction and how they deal with issues of race, ethnicity, racism, prejudice, and intolerance. Both the best and the worst, the most groundbreaking and insightful, and the most callous and clueless. Science fiction has a long history of both being opposed to racism, prejudice, and intolerance, but also of conscious or unconscious racism. Sci-fi fans, authors, and works are often said to be above, beyond, incapable of, and far past any prejudice. That is often the appeal of sci-fi, especially the most utopian works. Sometimes a sci-fi setting, story, or theme can be another way to comment upon, critique, or tear apart prejudice and hatred. For others, sci-fi is pure escapism, a way to get away from such issues. Sometimes this backfires. The most escapist sci-fi work is often the most racist. Sometimes the same three approaches or beliefs coexist within a work of sci-fi, within an author or a sci-fi fan. My name is Carroll. I'm Associate Professor of History at Northern Virginia Community College. I teach American, American Indian, and Latin American history. I've written mostly about wars, veterans, human rights, and genocide. I've also written some science fiction, mostly alternate history, including a sci-fi alternate history book, The Man in Black, the first of a series. The Starship Troopers novel is by Robert Heinlein. Heinlein started off as a socialist and became an influence on hippies with Stranger in a Strange Land. Though he denied it, he became a right-wing militarist with Starship Troopers. The novel created and influenced most military sci-fi, including Ender's Game, Halo, District 9, and Aliens. Heinlein's book is often deservedly called fascist. It argues only soldiers deserve the vote or citizenship, much like the takeover of Italy and Germany by far-right veterans after World War I. Alien insects are often referred to by epithets, similar to modern racist ones. Heinlein's main character, Rico, is Filipino. That is not revealed until late in the novel, and it's supposed to be shocking and anti-racist. Of course, since the name is most common among Latin Americans and a smaller number who were Spaniards or Italians, it really isn't. Heinlein was quite racist even during his early life, when he was supposedly socialist and leftist. His first book, the notorious six-column novel, was written in 1940, just before the U.S. entered World War II. Heinlein argued for outright genocide, that all Asians be mass murdered by atomic weapons. The book is also filled with epithets, at some points literally half the dialogue and descriptions. As for Starship Trooper, the director of the film, Verhoeven, claims he only read the first two chapters, got bored, and did his own version. But it's clear he read far more than that. Large sections of the film include almost word for word from the book, debates, arguments, even outright rants about freedom, violence, and arguing the glory of war and militarism, and the failures of pacifism and democracy. Again, all lifted straight from Heinlein's book. The biggest change Verhoeven did was to whiten the character of Rico. He changes him from Filipino to Argentinian. The main characters are further whitened. We are supposed to believe characters named Rico, Ibanez, and Flores can be credibly played by actors named Van Dien and Meyer. There is a large German population in Argentina, but they don't have Latino last names, and none of the characters in Starship Troopers have German names. There's also no sign of any culture or ethnicity at all in this future Earth. The main characters are generic whites. The great majority of Earth troops are also white. Whites today are only 6 of all humans, and that is likely to be less in the future. In the famous shower scene with Rico's squad, only 2 out of 10 soldiers are not white, 1 black and 1 Asian. Similar numbers are in other training or battle scenes. What this implies is more disturbing than any of the crude and often cheesy attempts to shock in the rest of the film. Was most of humanity wiped out during the military fascist takeover? Most Africans? Most Asians? Or were they sterilized? Or kept under control, perhaps to be forced labor? Were these parts of the earth kept deliberately low technology or poor? All of these are possible. But Verhoeven wants to argue fascism can be done without overt racism. Not just the integrated military, but some of its leaders. In the film, the leaders of the Earth's government, the Sky Marshal, the position passes from a white male to a mixed-race black female. The film also uses as its future fascist symbol of the world dictatorship the Navajo eagle. But almost everything else is deliberate imitation of Nazism. Troops wear Nazi or Italian black shirt uniforms. Propaganda scenes are modeled after the notorious film Triumph of the Will. That film glorified a Nazi rally. Part of the film's problem is that it still depicts war as exciting, glorious, and noble. All smiles to the end. Even after many scenes of useless slaughter, the main characters still embrace being soldiers for a fascist state. They have no self-awareness or change of heart. The battle scenes also are still a lot of cheap thrills, and the enemy is presented as so fearsome that the fascist state's tactics of brutality, repression, and lies, and extreme violence are justified. The film did well enough that it inspired a cult following who consumed 4 more direct-to-video sequels and an animated series. There were video games and even children's toys, completely undercutting any claim of a serious message. The sequel also undercut Verhoeven's supposed anti-war and anti-fascist message, and Heinlein's right-wing pro-colonialism message. Those who consume the sequels only want more of the same, action-filled war movies that do not include even the pretense of heavy satire. The sequels also feature the same, mostly white, racial dynamics, and the same practice of featuring fascism and glorifying war while claiming to condemn it. This is the end of the 15th video and the end of the series. Please repost freely, like, share, and comment. This has been Science Fiction, Race, and Racism video blog and channel. Look for alternate history series, Latin American Victory, and an earlier series, What If Natives Won, and possible future series.